What is up, everyone? Welcome to Reality Room Podcast with Chris. And today we have, yet again, another special guest. We have Paladin Serene. What's up, Paladin Serene?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. It's really hot here, but I guarantee you it's not as hot as it probably was for you having to save that whole kingdom.
Might be about similar. Those
Might be
past 2
about
weeks
similar? Okay.
were really
Okay.
hot though, like with everything on. Like we had like thermals, and we had like the shirt, and then the chainmail, then like the leather corset, and it was like, ooh.
Yeah. I can't even imagine how much wardrobe and medieval outfits you have and stuff like that. It seemed probably like a Game of Thrones. If I had to guess, would a comparison of Game of Thrones be a good comparison?
I think that's a pretty good comparison for like costume
Okay.
wise.
All right, so we're going to be talking about episode 7. We only have 2 more episode recaps left. It's really sad. We're getting down to it. This episode was called "A Light in the Darkness," and man, let me tell you, there was a lot of light in the darkness. Especially the opening. It starts off with Cedric. He leaves with the divine sword, and Adeline sees him. And he opens up the celestial dome because Dravis gave him like a potion bottle thing to like throw it there. And why do people trust? Why do people trust Dravis? I
It's like
don't.
that,
I don't get it.
like when like parents tell their small children, like, oh, don't take candy from strangers. It's like, don't take
Yeah,
potions from like lurky wizards.
exactly. Yeah, and especially after like that heated conversation, like that night with the king, with King Silas, and you know, um, oh my god, Adeline. Sorry,
I don't.
there's so many names. Adeline, yeah. And I was talking to Sean yesterday about this. I don't understand why they took the sword
Uh huh.
and I believe the mace. Yeah, the sword and the mace, and they put it back in the chapel place where you guys meet the king and stuff like that.
Uh huh.
And I don't understand why they just like took the items and just put it back there just for someone to steal it anyways. But
Mm.
what are your thoughts on seeing Cedric and Adeline throughout this whole portion of the episode?
So that was actually really exciting for me to watch because I did not know that happened. Like there were all the scripted elements. Me and the other contestants, we didn't know that happened. So watching it the first time on screen, I was like, "Why would he do that?" Like we were told he like took the sword, but I didn't know he like had help from Dravis and Adeline like followed him, and like then she got into the sword fight. And I think that really added more depth to the character. I think that made a lot more sense seeing that. But also, it was like when you watch a horror movie and you're like, why are they doing that? It's like, Cedric, why are they doing that, Cedric?
Yeah, I feel like out of all the royals, we have Prince Emmett who can use magic, which is insane. Which I think that's pretty cool that he can use magic. I don't know how, but he can use magic. We have Princess Adeline who's like very strategic, and we saw that when she decided not to take the truth potion. But sometimes I feel it's Cedric. I don't know where his place is with the royals. So can you like talk to me about like at this point, what do you think Cedric's place is with the royals?
I think Cedric's place is kind of more like on the physical side. Like Adeline said before, like, oh, he doesn't like magic because he likes to be like very brute, like use his hands and stuff. So I think for his character, they're definitely going for more of like the athletic, like strong, typical hero you'd see in like a lot of older stories. Where we have Emmett, who's
Hmm.
like the shy, kind of bookish, and then Adeline, who's like the scheming mastermind. And there's like the strong guy with the sword.
Okay, I guess that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, because we do see foreshadowing into this episode that we do finally see Cedric fighting, like this
Mhm.
really badass fight with Mila. And we're gonna get into that. So, Mila comes up with you guys, and I think the orb thing glows up, and she tells you guys that you have to go to 8 different locations, and this is like foreshadowing going into the maze.
Mhm.
And Adeline, we see Adeline fighting with Tavor's henchmen, and then she starts remembering like everything that happened when Tavor erased her memories. So we're just gonna
Right.
we gotta dive into one of my favorite segments. Can we trust Dravis? I
Can
mean,
we
that's
trust
just
this?
I don't know. At this point, no. I don't think you can trust him at this point. I don't even think later on you can trust him. But um, it's good that now everyone knows. And later into the episode, I know I'm skipping around. Some of you guys were like, "Yeah, we knew this. We knew Dravis was not on our side." So, what are your thoughts on Dravis? Like throughout this whole, you know, quest?
Hmm. I don't want to be a little biased because Dravis is actually one of my favorite characters, but I think in the moment while we were filming, he was definitely very like shady. From day one, he doesn't get to be the Oracle, and he's like, "Oh, well, I'm a mage since before you were born," and just very. I feel like he was a human character, because if you look, the royals weren't always the nicest to him. So I'm not saying what he did was justified, but I think he did have motive to do that. When Tabora saw that, she sensed that weakness, and she was like, "Oh, you'd be so much better with me." She's like, "I'll give you everything you want." And I think seeing that, it kind of made me feel a little bad for him, because he's kind of just. It seemed like he was a loner. He didn't get what he like. He got. He was supposed to be the Oracle, and everyone was like, "No." So I feel like my thoughts on him now, I I somewhat sympathize with him. Yes, he is crazy good. Like watching him, he's crazy. But I think as a character in the moment, I was disappointed in him. I was like, "That's your brother's mage. How could you do that to him?" It was just. It's when you know someone and they do something that you don't agree with, and it just kind of hurts. So it's like, Travis, why?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you that I would love to know more backstory on Dravis. Like, I want to know more backstory on all these characters
Yeah.
because we did see backstory with Tavora like in past episodes, and like that made me kind of feel bad for her, like a little bit because I was like, well, you treat her horribly because she can use magic, but then you have like Prince Emmett who just figured out magic,
Uh-huh.
and you have Dravis who's a magician. So I don't understand the double standards of like we're gonna treat Tavora bad for using magic, but these two are fine.
Yeah, it's like, oh, the prince and a mage is fine, but a random girl rocks.
Yeah,
Someone,
exactly. Yeah,
someone think about that. Someone think.
crazy, crazy. All right. Yeah, so we get a really cool fight with. There's a lot of fighting, like physical fighting in this episode. It was great. We see Adeline fighting with Tavora's henchmen. She starts remembering, and then she like throws the henchman over the shield, and I guess the henchman just like dissipated because it was up. The shield was up. So
Mhm.
wow.
I mean, that was something. Like she strikes him and she just like pushes him, and he's just gone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Bye.
that happened. Bye, General Kane, I guess.
And then we have. I want to do a new segment at some point. Well, may probably not gonna be able to do it, but I was gonna do it. So Tashani calls out Emmett for not
Mhm.
having faith with his brother and sister.
Mhm.
And I gotta say, Tashani really started like stepping up like her position like with you guys as a paladins, like calling out things like calling out Tavora,
Mhm.
calling out Dravis, calling out Emmett, like and calling out like the royals when you guys saw one of the peasants on the street.
Mhm.
So I'm curious what your thoughts on Tashani calling out basically everyone.
So I actually, if you remember on the first episode when it was the witch in the challenge, like as we're walking there, she's like, "Oh my god, that's so freaky," and you're like, we were all freaked out, but like I think she's the most vocal about it. But then slowly over the episodes, like she just becomes like super confident in herself. She's like speaking her mind, and honestly, like I have a lot of respect for her for that because a lot of times, people are like too afraid to like be honest. I think,
Hmm.
but she was just like, "No, I'm gonna tell you." Like kind of girl boss of her, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, I'm glad that she did that though, because it definitely brought like more of a realistic. Because you guys are not from Everrealm, so it kind of brought like a realistic
Representation, kind of.
representation of, yeah, of where you guys were from. So I thought that was neat. Yeah. So then we get into the item quest challenge.
Mm.
Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one.
That's Dravis.
Not Dravis. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so this competition, wow, like just wow. I don't know how anyone can like. It's this was crazy. So you guys had 8 ways to get in, and there's 8 ways to get out. And it was basically like this big maze, and you have to find like a hatch to like open up these doors and find these torches, right? No, no, the emeralds,
It was like crystals, and then once you found the
crystals. Yeah.
crystal, that's how you lit the torch, which was one of the
Mm,
last keystones.
yeah, right. So you had to find an emerald, put it on the torch, but you also had to find where the torch was and also find where the emerald was. So can
Mhm.
you talk a bit? Can you talk about this challenge? Like, how long did this challenge take? And just go through it.
Okay, so this challenge, for anyone who hasn't seen it, is basically a labyrinth, and there's the crystals hidden throughout. And in the middle of the labyrinth is the torch, which can only be lit if you have a crystal. And this challenge, we filmed this on the hottest day. Like it was hot. We filmed in winter in February, and then we ended in March in Calistoga. But man, it was so hot that day. And we were in there for a while too. I want to say it was a little less than an hour, but once we were in there, it felt like forever. I think you see, we're all just like walking around in confusion. Once we get out the door, some of us didn't make it out the first door, and we're just like getting so frustrated. We're sweating. It's like, where are the crystals? And it was kind of intense, like, but it was also so cool. It's like an actual labyrinth with like hidden doors. It's crazy.
It's almost kind of like a, like if you were to go like on a farm and like those big corn farms and like they place you in the
Mm,
middle of nowhere. Like that's kind of what I got from it. It's like you got to find your way out of the corn farm. And yeah, so we have Ava finds the hatch first, then David finds it, and then you end up finding the torch.
mhm.
And then you're looking, then you so you know where the torch is, and then you try to go find the crystal. Did you mark where you were, like when you found where the torch was? Did you try to like mark it so that way you knew that that's where it was?
So there were four doors on each different side. I think on one side it was Hayden, Sean, Tashani, and Ava. And on the other side it was myself, Myra, Holden, and David. David got up first on our side, and almost immediately after I was like, David, how do you open it? And he's like, oh, it's like a hidden latch. And then it didn't take too long. I think the spaces between the two of us, the two sides to get to the middle was even. So it doesn't take that long once you're out of the door to find the middle. So I was just like walking around. I was trying to find like anything that would open. And I think you actually see Ava was there right before me, and she's like, "Did you find anything?" And I was like, "No." Then as soon as she walks away, the door gets open, and I was like, "Oh." And it's a pretty big maze, but once you were in there for a while, like we were, you can kind of start to like memorize where it is. I definitely remembered where it was just because I walked by it so many times, and I'd like to say I have a good memory. I think. So I think that definitely helped in remembering where it was. Because once I found, well, spoilers.
No, you're good.
Yeah, because once I found
Um,
it at the end, like I just booked it back there. I was like, I have to remember where it is. Luckily, I did.
yeah. So, Mila calls out to. Wait, I'm like skipping ahead. Sorry. So you find the torch and you find the crystal, and you win this competition.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yay.
Good for you, Serene. That was definitely, I would say, out of all the competitions, this one was probably the hardest as far as like the strategic portion of it and like finding your like where you are. And I asked this to all your other Paladin friends, like, what was more challenging, the first half where you had to find the gemstones, or this half where you had to find the items for the Kingstone?
Um, I feel like this half where we had to find the kingstones. I feel like these challenges were a lot more complex. I'm not saying that the first ones weren't, but for the gemstones ones, what were they? They were the courage one, They were
Hmm.
the strength one,
Wisdom.
the wisdom, and resilience. And those ones were all definitely hard, but I feel like these ones, the stakes were higher, and you could
Hmm.
tell, because it's this was the second to last challenge before voting, and you could really feel the pressure. So I think that kind of just also made it like, oh, the stakes are higher. Like you felt like, oh, I really have to give it my all on this one.
Yeah. I do like that you guys have a lot of competitions, a lot of challenges, a lot of different challenges, a lot of physical, a lot of no knowledge, not a lot of like racing. It's pretty impressive like how like well this was in just like a month that you guys were only there for. So it was
Hmm.
definitely cool, and I think they're definitely gonna have more seasons. So while this challenge is going on, and it's always funny when you guys are doing the challenge and other stuff is happening like while you're doing the challenge. Milo calls out Emmett, and uh, Milo calls out Emmett about the siblings, like not really caring too much about the siblings because they're always there's so much rivalry as to regards to who's getting the crown. And I
Yeah.
feel like the Royals, that's been kind of the theme this whole series is like who's getting the crown. And at this point, and I'm not saying anything, at this point when I was watching it, I was thinking that Mila should get the crown.
Really?
Yeah, I was thinking that. And the reason why is because the last episode when everyone like I'm not saying like the paladins. I'm saying like the royals and like the king. They're like, "Yeah, this quest is over." She's like, "No, it's not." And she like calls them out on it. Like and that really shows like leadership too. And also she was sorry, Mirla like knew the father well too, and she even says too like I would have sacrificed my life for your father. So at this point, I'm like, well, Mila seems like she knows what she's doing, so why not give her the crown? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
That is a fan theory. I'm gonna be honest, I have not heard yet.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing. I'm gonna vote they make a spin-off series that just stars Mila, Dravis, saying
Yeah.
stuff. It's what we want.
So okay, and also throughout this whole series, Mila and Emmett, I don't know what you want to call it. I would call it Milemit or something like that. Those two are tight.
Mm.
I don't know.
I I saw a lot of like anger, not anger, but like online where people were like, "Oh, they denied me my ship kiss" or like something. But like, I
Yeah.
feel like it's a wholesome relationship, and I feel like
Hmm.
it was cute to watch. It was really cute.
Yeah, it's definitely cute to watch, and it's also gonna be nice if they have multiple seasons, like to
Mm.
see where it evolves. And I think that would be really cool if they have like multiple seasons and like see it progress like along the way.
Oh, that was
Just saying, I think that'd be cool. um, yeah, so you find the crystal, um, and you get your second talisman, correct? At
Mhm.
this point, because the first talisman you got was that the wisdom one,
That was the resilience one.
the resilience one. Okay, that was one with the leprechaun,
The troll,
the leprechaun troll or whatever.
leprechaun
That one also was
troll.
that one also was fun too. Like if you're really good at like a jump rope, like that would be like a really good competition. But and also I'm curious like what your thoughts on that competition was the first talisman that you got.
Oh, I had so much fun on that one. We were on there for almost 25 minutes, which doesn't sound like a lot, but like when you're jumping, it was just getting faster and faster. And those pads are small and squishy. Like, yeah, it felt like a really long time. That will forever be one of my favorite challenges. Not because I want it, but just because it's genuinely so fun. Like, I don't have the strongest arms, which we saw in like the second episode. But like I used to do track and field. I like to do like a lot of like leg exercises. So I feel like that one was really kind of like made for me. I was like, oh, I can do this easy, and it was so fun, so fun.
Yeah, I think that was the most fun out of all the competitions. That one probably would be like top three or top two.
I think the most
So you
fun.
guys bring back.
I
No, go
think the
ahead.
most
What were you
fun was
saying?
oh, I think the most fun one was in episode 6, where it was like the tournament with like the scorpion and like the maze. That was the
Yes.
most fun to watch for me.
Yeah. Because that one seemed kind of like tournament style, like
Yeah.
Coliseum tournament style, and I really like that they kind of really incorporated like a three-part competition to like you know showcase like all the archery and shields and stuff like that. So
Given his
Emmett touches the torch, and he has a vision.
uh,
And when I watched this, it made me think like, why is it that all these royals, when they touch these like, um, you know, I don't even know what you want to call it, equipment, like all these new items, like why do they all have a vision? Like at this point, like do you think there's a correlation between like the royals and like the items that you guys have to find?
so basically, once he returned all the gems at the Fates Temple, and the Fates were like, "Oh, Emmett, Adeline, Cedric, you now have to help find uh, the keystones." And this was because they kind of represented each one. Like Cedric had the sword, Adeline had the scepter, and Emmett had the torch. So they were kind of like their items. They were connected to them in some way, as you saw, because when each one picked up like their item, they got the vision of like them ruling. So I feel like
Yeah.
the faith definitely like has them. They're like, oh, well, these would be your items, so you have to help them find them. And I think that was fun to
Yeah, I
watch.
think that makes more sense. Yeah, because I was like, why are they like why are they all getting visions from like touching the items? And then I was like, oh, okay, like they each represent them. That makes sense. So yeah, so Adeline comes back, and she reveals that Dravis is a Two Face. And
What?
then you guys are like, we knew it, we knew it the whole time. So what was that like when you guys heard Adeline basically say that Dravis like betrayed you guys?
I feel at that point the signs were a little too obvious, so it wasn't like the biggest shock, but it was kind of like, "Aw, why'd you do that? You know, like you were so
Hmm.
cool."
Yeah. Um, so Cedric has been caught by the Dark Region. We're gonna get into the next challenge because that was also kind of an interesting one too. And Emmett lies about. I didn't really understand this. So Emmett, and Princess Adeline, they talk, and he lies about the last vision that he had, which was basically him being on the throne.
Mhm.
And every single one of them, when they had their vision, all visioned that they were on the throne. And I don't know why Emmett is lying about this. So, can you kind of go over why you think like the royals are not mentioning like their last vision of being like on the throne room?
Um, I think that when Adeline was she was being accused of scepter, she was like, "No, I had a vision," and they were like, "Oh wow, of you ruling," and they were like kind of got like all like salty about it. So you see, Cedric also leaves it out, but then Adeline also accuses him. She's like, "Oh, let me guess, you had a vision, you were ruling." He's like, "This was for sanctum." So I feel like Emmett didn't want to say that because he didn't want to be like kind of like hypocritical, you know, because like
Yeah.
he was just the one like shaming Adeline and being like, "Oh, you want to be the ruler because you had a vision?" And he's I think they were all kind of like hesitant to reveal that information because that really is like a big argument between them, like who's gonna rule. And I think they're all kind of trying to like strategize at that point to like how they could get the throne.
Hmm.
Maybe not in the best ways, but they're like, oh, if I get this relic and then I do this, then I can deliver Rome. Sanctum, not a rule.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I guess I never saw it like that way, but that does make sense. Um, so then we get a Dravis versus King Silas fight in the
Draven
throne
definitely
room.
wins that.
Yeah, Dravis wins it, and then Emma uses his magic, and it doesn't really do much. He uses some fire magic, doesn't really do much. And the king says that he was right to trust the royals about Dravis, and then just Dravis just disappears into a magic mirror, and we don't see him. So Dravis probably went back to Tavora, and I have an image. This is basically them at this point.
Is that from Once Upon a Time?
Yeah, this is the one on the left is that's
Rumple?
Tavora, and the one on the right is Dravis.
Aww. Yep, I totally get it, yeah.
You can't have one villain without another. All right. So this is your next challenge is to save Cedric,
Uh-huh.
which I do like this one too because it's more now you have to find like how you're gonna. I, I guess we didn't have a saving someone challenge yet, so it was nice to actually have you guys saving one of the royals because I think it was talking to Ava or someone else that the second half the royals really do get more involved with
Yeah.
your missions and challenges rather than the first half. So, what are your thoughts on the royals like having the Royals be more affiliated with the second half than not having them in the first half.
I think having them in the second half is really fun, not only for us but for the viewers too. I feel like in the first half that might have been too much because like we had Mila, then we had all the other characters, and we just got there, so we're like getting used to everything. The second half, like we're used to that, so we're ready to like bring on more people. And I feel like it was fun for the Royals too, like as the characters, because they get to like participate in like the quest to find the Pink Stone to save Everrealm. And it was fun for us because the Royals were like they were good to have in the challenges. Like they had interesting conversations on camera, off camera. The actors had to stay in character the whole time. And can you
Oh
imagine
wow.
like 8 teenagers being like, "We're gonna break these actors. We never broke them. It never happened."
That's why they got their IMDb up there.
Yeah, no, they did. They
that's
earned that. Like
yeah,
they
that's
earned
another
that.
thing. At some point, I got to talk, to everyone about that. So let's get to the team challenge. Okay, so Cedric's trapped, and the Dark Legion, they're just like they're kind of like stupid, honestly. No offense, but they're like they have their prisoners on like one side that like aren't like royal at all, but then they have Cedric who is like trapped into like this underground cage thing, and there's not one soldier there to protect him at all. So you
And
guys
they're
were like,
standing up. I'm not sure if you saw that. They're arm wrestling in the air, like they're like standing up.
yeah, I saw that. Yeah, like they're like goofy. I don't know, Tavora. You might have to get new henchmen. um, so you guys have to figure out a way to break this cage and unlock, Cedric from the ground to the floor and save the prisoners. So Holden figures it out really actually pretty fast, I would say. That there's like these long bricks that you guys have to like put on a platform, which is kind of weird, and then like have it attached to the cage.
Uh huh.
Okay, I'm right. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, it's like the bricks, and you put them down, and then you connect it to the middle, and you untie the knots holding the cage, and you're just like, it's so
Yeah, so you have to unknot the knots, untie the knots, get the platforms up, and have the door open. And
right.
you guys didn't even have to get the keys to the doors because there was like was there something on the outside of the cage where he was able to
I think
open
yeah,
it?
it was just like a little latch, like on like a bird cage, which is like, and it just opens. It's
Yeah.
like a good-sized bird cage. That's really what it was.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. That would have been hard though to get those keys. I don't know. Knowing these henchmen, you probably would have gotten the keys pretty quickly. I don't
Yeah,
know.
bro.
So you guys, you free the prisoners, and then we get this really badass fight with like Cedric, Mila, and the Dark Region. And I think this was probably like one of the most fun fights to like for you guys like to watch while you're like saving the prisoners. Like we have to go, guys! They're fighting. So what was that like?
Oh, that was really fun because once we got Cedric out, then we all had to like go around the camp and like walk up the hill to untie the prisoners. And then I think I see the sword and I point to David and Sean. I'm like, look, the sword. And then David like walks over and like grabs it. We
Mm.
run. I think that was really fun because at the same time we got to watch them shooting it. But like they were doing it like in the moment, so we had the experience of seeing it, and we're like, wow, so
Yeah.
cool.
Okay. So you guys, complete the mission, and those are my notes. Okay, I thought I had more notes. Oh yeah, I got more notes. Okay, so Cedric gets the mark of friendship, and I gotta say, um, at this point, Holden really hasn't gotten too much screen time.
Mhm.
So I was kind of curious where his position was with you guys as paladins, but it seemed like he there's some moments with Holden where he does take a lot of leadership roles, which was really cool. So I want to know your opinion in regards to like Holding winning this challenge, this team challenge, because he won two team challenges so far, but he hasn't won any talismans yet. So, like, what are your thoughts on Holden at this point?
Well, before the friendship challenge, which he won, he got the talisman of leadership. And I think he really did deserve that one because you've seen a lot of challenges. Like he's very vocal, he's a very smart guy. He understands puzzles really fast. And then as for winning the friendship one, I think he definitely deserved it because like he was the first to figure it out. And for friendship, Holden is a really good friend. I wish they would put more moments like these on the show, but there's like a lot of moments where like one of us is sad or something, like something happened. And a lot of times for me when I was upset, it was Holden accompanying me. And we
Yeah.
weren't that close in the beginning because like he was really quiet, and I was like, "Why is he so quiet? We're supposed to be talking." But definitely during like the second week, we became like really close just because like how good of a friend he is. So he
Hmm.
100% deserves that friendship mark.
Good. We have Dread Pirate XX in the chat. Ahoy, gang! Hail, Paladin Serene.
Ahoy! Wait, what do you do with ahoy? Like, what's a pirate?
That's a
Ahoy!
pirate. Ahoy! Yeah.
Ahoy! Ahoy!
Maybe Paladin Serene.
Thank you.
Um. Okay, so we get Cedric apologizing, and I guess I would say this is a good. It's good that Cedric's apologizing because throughout this whole quest, Cedric has been kind of like cocky with you guys. Like yeah, there was even in the beginning of the first team. There was the beginning of the first midpoint where Caden's not Caden. Cedric's like, "Yeah, guys, just go, do the challenge." Like with the whole map one and the forest. And
Mhm.
so it was nice to get a good side of Cedric for once, because I feel like Cedric has been kind of like mean to you guys, like even in like the beginning of the first episode where he's like, "I know it's all about team, but who do you think's gonna be the true one, the true hero?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what was that like, knowing that Cedric apologized? And I think out of everyone to save, Cedric probably would be the best one to save because he always seems like he's very independent as one of the royals.
I feel like that was really good character development, and you're right because like at the dinner, he's like trying to like stir up some like drama, and just like there's a lot going on. He's been kind of like snarky, kind of like cocky towards us, and we were all like, we definitely all got the message. We're like, okay, Cedric, we get it. You don't like us, but I think part of that, like Cedric, he's like, oh, he thinks he's gonna be the king because he's like the strongest. He's like, oh, I should be like the one true hero because I possess those qualities. So I feel like maybe he's a little bitter about that, somewhat in Dravis' way. But I feel like after that, like him apologizing, he was really like, "Aw, that was really nice to hear, actually."
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Like the character development from Cedric, definitely like it was there. Like he went from being like really cocky to not liking you guys to like, wow, you guys saved me from the dark region and you freed the prisoners. Like you guys are definitely worth being true paladins.
Mm-hmm.
And we see a lot of character development. I think, especially with this episode with the other royals, like even with Prince Emmett and Adeline, like we've definitely seen them like a lot more character development, more strategic, more magic and stuff like that. So it's nice to see some changes with the royals from what you guys are doing.
Definitely.
Yeah. So um, the royals, we get a really cute moment. The royals, they all hug it out. They start crying. There's like you're like, "Aw." And then we get to the cliffhanger, which is between. Um, so Ava has the mace, David has the sword, and you have the torch.
Scepter.
Scepter. Sorry, scepter,
Okay,
sword,
pretty cool.
and it's cool too because it represents each royal. So like Ava represents Adeline, David represents Cedric, and you represent Prince Emmett. Yeah, so that's cool. And you guys walk up to go to the go see the fates, and that's how the episode ends.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and that was basically just it for the episode. So what are your thoughts overall on this episode? Light in the Darkness.
I feel like A Light in the Darkness is a fun episode, mainly because of the labyrinth challenge, and I feel like that's really fun to watch. It was also really fun to do, and then we get kind of the suspense. Like, oh, there's three people tied. Holden has two, Ava has two, I have two, and it's like, oh, who's gonna make it? So I feel like that was definitely fun. And then there's also the character development, and then with Dravis, he like disappears through a mirror. So I feel like it's really setting it up for the finale. It's like the
Yeah,
excitement.
very excited, and I'm also really excited for the last episode recap because we're gonna I can't say who it is, but we are gonna have the winner coming on for the last episode. It could be you. It could be anyone.
It could be anyone.
So
Who knows?
let's. Who knows? Maybe it's Tavora.
That Tavora wins. That's working
Maybe
out.
she's
But
she's the or it could be Mila too. You never know.
totally,
Maybe she's the one.
maybe.
All right, so I want to get into a segment. I want to know what your experience was like. You can say as much as you want, little as you want, whatever. What was it like going through the casting process, and then what was it like going into Everrealm and then watching it?
Okay. So for me, I think I was actually the first one who auditioned who got cast because I auditioned in the beginning of January 2020, like first few days of it. And then I got a call. I think it was late January or early March. So then I had my first call interview, then I had a Zoom interview, then I had another. And this was like 2 days before the 2 week lockdown started.
Hmm.
So then after that, we didn't hear anything until like summer, and then we got an email from them. They're like, "Hey, we're still in the show. You're still in the process." And then I wasn't cast until November when I had the final call with like all the producers. And it's kind of a new story. They asked us to submit a few pictures of us that they could like show to the team. And one of them I used from like when I was at a Renaissance fair. I had like those fake elf ears on, like people use for cosplay. And I guess they liked that one because I guess that's what they used for me. Because the first thing that happened when I entered that final call is everyone's just laughing, and I'm like, haha, where's the joke? Like I'm trying to understand. They're like, can we see your ears? Like, are they like elf ears? And I was like, so I think that definitely kind of helped because they're like, wow, a nerdy child. So
Yeah,
so it took a while, like, to get casted because it was in November 2020. I got casted.
and that was in
Because
2020, correct?
yeah, that was in 2020 because we filmed
That was in. Okay,
February
gotcha, gotcha.
2020. Mhm. Time is a weird
Okay,
concept. Yeah,
so
we
you filmed
filmed February.
February. So you. So I'm sorry, like I'm cutting out a little bit. So you guys filmed in February 2021
Mhm. To
for one
March
month. Okay,
20.
so from February 20. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so February to March is when you filmed it, and then the show came out. I would say 14 months after. Does that make like a
Yeah.
year and 2 days, 2 months? Yeah,
Yeah.
a
Maybe
year and 2 days.
you're in 2 days. Precise. No, they said originally it was going to be a fall release, like that year of fall, and they pushed it back for like a summer release, and then we got a spring release, so that was great, I guess. Spring.
Yeah. So were there any moments when you were in Everrealm where you were like kind of surprised on like what like the medieval portion of it? Like, were you expecting certain things? Like, what was it like meeting like all the, the king and the royals and Mila and going from like wearing teenager gear to like I gotta fight medieval people.
Mm. So for me, like being like immersed in the experience, like the castle we used, the Castillo de Amorosa, because they we used like all of that castle, and I was shocked at how like authentic they made it look. Like it really felt like you were like in like a fantasy castle. And I actually went back to the castle in September to visit it because I was in the area. And when you're walking down the hallway, which is the marketplace, you can peer over and see the Paladin courtyard. It's like only for like private events. And I was just looking at it and I was like so sad. I was like, I want to go down there. Because like the castle's completely changed. Like normally it's like a beautiful winery, but this it was the Castle of Aura, and it really felt like that. Like the rooftop armory is just like tables for like picnicking, and it's like so different. So that was really fun for me. I was definitely surprised at that. I was also surprised there was no archery competition because that was a really big part of my audition. Like I think in
I thought the archery one was
that was a
the
scorpion.
three. Yeah, the scorpion one, but that's not archery. The
No,
bow.
no,
You were
no.
talking about the bow and arrow one.
Yeah, the bow.
Oh, okay.
Because that was I think at the end for me that was a really big part of my process. They were definitely focusing on the archery thing. Like I sent them like several videos of like me shooting. My uncle bought me like this brand new like target block so I could practice. I was like basically try harding because I wanted to look cool. But when I
Yeah.
got there, luckily I had that one scene, so I feel like little me is like happy all that work paid off. But I was really surprised that wasn't a challenge. Also, horseback riding. I feel like those are two very stereotypical like fantasy movie things: horses, archers. So I was surprised that wasn't included.
Yeah. One question that I get asked a lot is, have you ever seen the quest, the one from ABC?
I have actually. I watched it once while I was auditioning, so I kind of like had an idea of what I was getting into. And then
Hmm.
throughout quarantine and while quarantining in the hotel room, I rewatched it three more times. So I've seen it a total of
Oh my god.
four times, I think.
Yeah, because I get a lot of questions in regards to like, is the format the same? Is it different from your show? And I would have to say the biggest difference from the one from ABC and the one from your show is one. Obviously, the age group is one thing, but
Mm-hmm.
also it's very It's an elimination. Someone's got to leave. I don't know if it's Everrealm. I think it's a different. I think it's a different universe. I'm not sure if it was
It's still called
Everrealm or
Ember.
not. Oh, really?
It's set
Oh,
in the
that's cool.
kingdom of Sanctum, which is actually where like Emmett, Adeline, and Cedric are from. So that was a fun little Easter.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I gotta like go back and watch that. We have some comments. Let's go. Let's take a look. Um, we got Hail Paladin Serene.
Thank you.
Serene was is my favorite. Yep, favorite
Oh,
Paladin since her opening lines. Greeting from Brazil. Oh, that's cool. You're from Brazil.
hi. Thank you for watching. Oh, wait. I'm
Okay,
still
so
getting
this
that.
was the same pirate one. It's a pirate thing. Imagine they just do like a whole. You guys have to go like on a ship and like you go to a different kingdom. That would be insane if they have
That's
that.
season two. It's
S-
it's like that's season two. It's like Mila's the captain of the boat. Like Dravis is like the other
Mm-hmm.
pirate. We can have an Emmett on the ship too. So for like the cuteness, we're all just pirates. Season two.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we got okay. Someone's asking Serene, what's your social media handle if you have one?
Oh, it's just Serean Kim, Serean Kim. That's the lucky part about having a weirdly spelled name. Social media does not take it. That username
Wait, can you spell?
wasn't taken.
I'm just gonna send this in the chat so that way they see it. So what is? Can you spell that one more time?
Serean
Mm-hmm.
and then Kim and
K.
Kim
Oh,
Kim.
KM. Okay,
Kim. And Kim
I
is
think
actually
that's
one
it.
of the most common Korean last names, and it means seaweed.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
My middle name is so if we translate, it would be Serene Summer Seaweed. So I can definitely be on the pirate show. I can be like something on the pirate show. That's kind of a pirate name, I think.
Okay, so we're gonna do one more segment and we're gonna wrap this interview up. Because we do have one episode left, we're not gonna spoil the final episode. I'm probably gonna do an episode recap finale, either next week or some other week. I'm not sure yet, but I'm curious on season two. So if season two were to happen, what would you want to see more of? Now that we have like different things in place, like what would you want to see more in season two?
For me personally, because I'm the kind of person who likes to read all the reviews, negative or bad, in our case on IMDb.
Hmm. I know, yeah, I
So,
saw that.
um, but I think from what the viewers want and what I think would be good is if they put in more time where you're like gonna like connect with the paladins basically, because these episodes they're only 45 minutes. They have two challenges, and then they have all like the scripted scenes with like the royals and Tora and Dravis. So I understand there wasn't a lot of time to like put in like just seeing us being us and like interacting with each other, but we were in that courtyard for so many hours a day. We were filming for like 8 hours, and I'd say over half of those is just us having conversations in that courtyard. So I really wish they could have put a lot more of that in because a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know anything about these people. Like, why should I root for them? And I understand that because, I think that's fair. You didn't know too much about us. So I think it's in season two, if they included that more, because it is being advertised as like a reality competition, I think that would be really, I think that would be
I
really
agree
cool.
with that. I think what they should do is like I know that they have like an extras section like where it's like the episodes and about what they could do is they can have like videos of like each of you guys like talking about yourselves and like just have
Yeah,
that as like a separate thing or maybe have it like on their social media stuff or their website and I definitely think that would you know add a little bit more to it because it's like what you just said like they're like why would you I mean I was rooting for you guys but like the viewers are like well, why would I root for someone who I don't know too much about so it's like I think unless they bring you guys back for season two no
I well, no, I feel like that probably wouldn't happen, because there's already one true hero. So do they?
mm,
Well, I feel like if they do a season two, it will be all new paladins, and I'm sure they will all be wonderful. I'm sure they will be as if not as charming or like funny or whatever we were. But I definitely don't think it wasn't in our contract, and I honestly think it would be weird if we were included in season two. Maybe we can make like a small cameo. That might be nice.
maybe yeah
But
that would be nice yeah if you guys like came at the end to like help battle whatever you guys had to that would be sick
really cool.
so yeah that was really just it about those questions that I had did you want to mention anything else or talk about anything else about the show
I want to know what was your favorite challenge?
ooh that's a mm. I like different challenges for different reasons I really do like the strength one because that I don't even know what that thing looked like it was I have a picture of like it looked like a white walker
With
hold on where's
oh, yep,
yeah,
there
it
it is.
looked like a White Walker with like antlers. That's what it looked like. I think that one looked like out of all the monsters and stuff like that. I think that one looked probably the sickest, and I would say the three-part competition was probably one of my favorites.
I
But
like
I
that.
also do. I don't know. I like the one that you won, the first one,
The
because it looked
resilience.
like it was a lot of like it was an endurance. I like the endurance competitions the most, so I would probably say that one would be my favorite. The one with um the leprechaun, you know, troll
Leprechaun
girl.
troll. I have to say, my heart was like racing watching some of them, even though I know what happens. Like the resilience one, I was like, oh, and it was like down to the I was like, oh my god, it's so close. Or like what episode 6 when David hits bullseye like first shot, I was like, oh my god, and I
Yeah,
was there when that happened. But that was just genuinely fun to watch.
yeah. We got William. I would love to see a scripted show with the cast. Interesting. Okay.
I
Yeah,
think
I
it
definitely think
would
there's.
be Caribbean. Like, would it be like the same kind of like Everonly or
I don't know. What do you think, William?
like, let us know.
He goes. I agree. The troll challenge and the scepter was good too. Yep. Um. Yeah, I definitely think for season two, I I hopefully they renew it for season two. I'd be really happy about it. It's. I also said too. I. Oh yeah, this was what I was gonna mention. Every time I'm doing these interviews with you guys, it's. I know you guys posted something about like before you got into Everome and like while you're in Everome, like a. I don't know who posted it, but it was like basically like a before and after. And I will say, all of you guys definitely evolved, like in terms of like personality wise. Like you've definitely gotten more confident, more energy, more knowledgeable. Like my last question I want to ask you is, how did this experience change you as a person?
That's a good question. I think filming the show and just kind of being immersed in this experience, I think it definitely changed me in a lot of positive ways. Like we saw on screen, I was very insecure. I had very low self confidence. I think I cried in like 7 of the 8 episodes. And that scene with the king where he's like, I don't even know what he was talking about. He just came down, and I was like, oh yeah, sometimes I am my own worst enemy basically. I think after that, and I think you can see that at the end. I definitely, I try to make eye contact a lot more these days. And, like I have like better posture, and I think just definitely like self confidence, like way up. But also, I just think there's like so many things, like so many positive things that change each of us. Like Tashani's more vocal, and like Holden's like he's also more vocal. Like we all kind of like came out of our shell at the end. So I think it really positively impacted all of us. So I'm really glad we all got to do it together.
Yeah, I definitely think every interview I do with you guys, it seems like you guys are totally different people. I'm like, do I were these people on the show? Were
That's
these
the
teenagers on
fun
the show?
thing about filming with teenagers, because I was 14 when we filmed. I'm almost 16, and like Holden was 16 when we filmed. Now
Mm,
he's 18. And like you could tell, like looking, like we all look kind of different. And just because it
yes,
was a
yes.
while ago. So that's like, it must be weird, I think, if like any viewers like follow our socials, they're like, who are these people? Who are
Yeah.
they? And who are they? Like,
Okay, so William was saying like a scripted show with you guys, like a fantasy miniseries. I could see that. I think that wouldn't be such a bad idea.
that would be fun.
Or
I
if they
want to
did like
like,
a cartoon, like they do a cartoon of
I
the quest.
desperately want that.
Like if they did
I
an anime for it, I would be down for that.
I was making a joke because the show is dubbed in several languages, and I was like, oh, why didn't they let me dub my Korean voice? But I love all of my dub actors, especially the Korean one because she's very in character for me. Great.
We got William saying the chemistry of the cast and the Paladins was great. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, so that was it for Reality Room podcast, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And we have the season finale recap coming, I don't know, next week or something, but we'll definitely have more. Yes. Take care, guys.